It was supposed to be a simple ride home. Late ferry from Inishmore, cold wind off the water, jacket collar turned up, fingers numb. I was just glad Aisling managed to book me a car for hire before signal dropped. We'd spent the day together, laughed, shared a few pints. She kissed me goodbye and pushed me toward the old pier with a smile and a warning not to freeze to death before sunrise. The car showed up 10 minutes late. Peeling paint. Right headlight flickering. I almost didn't get in. I should have listened to that hesitation. She rolled down the window and smiled. "You're for Kilronan, yeah?" I nodded. "That's right." Her accent wasn't local. Eastern European maybe. Couldn't quite place it. She was mid-30s, long red hair pulled into a tight ponytail, heavy eyeliner. Sharp features, thin smile. She looked like someone trying hard to seem casual. I reached for the back door. "No," she said quickly. "Front seat, please." I don't like when people sit behind me. I paused, a little thrown. But okay. Weird but not illegal. I got in the front. That was my second mistake. At first, everything felt normal enough. She asked if the music was too loud. Adjusted the heater. Asked where in Kilronan I lived. Then it started. "You're not from here," she said. "No. Just visiting." "Girlfriend?" "Yeah. Aisling. Local." She didn't respond right away. Then softly, "She's very lucky." I laughed awkwardly. "Thanks. You have very kind eyes." I stared out the window. "Appreciate it. Do you live with her?" "Not yet." "So, you're alone tonight." I didn't like how she said it. Not the words. The way she said them. Like she was already piecing something together. "I'm just going home," I said. "It's been a long day. I could come with you." I turned thinking I'd misheard. She smiled, eyes still on the road. "Just saying. Sometimes two strangers meet. Just like this. You never know what the night holds." I forced a chuckle. "I think my girlfriend would have a heart attack." "She doesn't have to know." I stared at her. She stared right back. "Not interested," I said, keeping it firm, polite. I'd been on enough sketchy night rides to know tone mattered. She shrugged. "Men always say that. But I know things." "What kind of things?" She didn't answer. Just tapped her fingers against the steering wheel. We kept driving. The road grew darker, quieter. Then she asked, "Have you ever been with a woman who doesn't speak your language?" I swallowed. "I think I'd rather not have this conversation." "Why?" "It's harmless. It's not appropriate." She went silent again. The air inside the car grew heavy. The kind of silence that chokes you. I pretended to check my phone. No service. Figures. "I think you're very tense," she said, her voice suddenly softer. "I could help with that." "I'm fine, thank you." "You don't seem fine." I looked at the dashboard. Still 20 minutes out. Maybe more with how slowly she was driving. "You know," she continued, "I'm not from here either. Where I'm from, women don't wait around for men to make the first move. We take what we want." I didn't respond. "You're very handsome." "I'm not interested." "You keep saying that," she said. "But your body says something different." My jaw clenched. "Pull over." She laughed. "You're not serious." "I am. I'd like to get out of the car. Now." "You'll freeze." "I'll walk." "No, you won't." The tires crunched against gravel. I looked out the window. We weren't on the main road anymore. "This isn't the way to Kilronan." "Shortcut," she said. "No. Turn around." She grinned. And didn't. My heart was pounding. I reached for the handle, but the lock clicked. I looked at her. "You don't want to be rude," she said. "I don't care about being rude." "Then let me show you something." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small notebook. Handwritten notes. Names. Numbers. And a photo. Of me. From earlier. Standing with Aisling at the ferry station. Taken from a distance. I felt my blood run cold. "What the hell is that?" "I take photos of people I like." I stared at her. "You've been following me?" She shrugged. "You stood out." I unbuckled my seatbelt. "Let me out of this car. Now." She sighed. "Why are men always so afraid of women who know what they want?" I didn't answer. I just kicked. Slammed my boot into the dashboard, startling her just enough. Then again. Harder. She swore, lost her grip, and the car swerved. I threw the door open and dove out. I hit gravel hard, but I scrambled up and ran. Didn't look back. Just ran. I made it to a gas station 2 miles away, bruised and limping. The clerk called the Gardaí. They found the car abandoned in a bog a few hours later. She was gone. No trace. Fake name on the booking form. Disposable license. No plate registration in the system. She'd vanished. I still think about her sometimes. The way she smiled. The way she looked at me like I was already hers. Like this wasn't even a question of if, only when. People talk about creepy men, dangerous drivers, horror stories in the backseats of cars. But sometimes it's not who you expect. Sometimes the monster wears lipstick and asks if the music's okay. And if you're lucky, you get out in time. It started with a glance. A fleeting, uncomfortable moment in a quiet hallway of an ordinary apartment complex. I had just moved into a new building in a quiet part of town. Affordable. The kind of place where no one really knows each other, but people nod politely and keep to themselves. After the chaos of the last year, I wanted peace. Nothing more. The first time I saw Rachel, she was standing outside the elevator around 10 p.m., dressed casually, holding a canvas grocery bag. She was alone. I remember the soft hum of the overhead lights, the way everything seemed still. I approached with a casual, "Hey." She turned and froze. For a split second, her face contorted into something I still can't forget. Not just surprise, not awkwardness, fear. Not mild discomfort, genuine physical fear. She looked at me like I had just pulled a weapon. Like I wasn't a neighbor but something else entirely. And then she bolted. No words. No explanation. She ran down the hallway and stood stiffly by another door, hands shaking, waiting for me to get on the elevator. I stood there stunned. Maybe she thought I was someone else? Maybe I had startled her? I told myself it was nothing. But then it happened again. A few days later, I was heading out for a walk. She stepped out of her unit, 3B, at the exact same moment. We locked eyes. And just like before, she turned and disappeared back inside her apartment without a word. Doors slammed. Locks clicked. Not a single sound after. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone's dealing with their own stuff, right? Maybe she was socially anxious. Maybe she had been through something traumatic. But then things started getting weird. I'd see her shadow under the door late at night, standing there. Not moving. Just standing. Like she was waiting to hear something. Another time, I came home and found a note under my door. No words. Just a torn piece of notebook paper with an apartment maintenance number written on it, and nothing else. I hadn't asked for any maintenance. Another night, I was doing laundry. I left my basket unattended for 2 minutes to grab detergent. When I came back, everything had been rearranged. Folded, badly, like someone had rushed to touch every piece of clothing and then left. Rachel's apartment is directly across from the laundry room. When I turned to glance down the hallway, I saw her door slowly closing. I finally told my girlfriend something was off. She laughed at first, thought I was exaggerating. But then she experienced it too. We ran into Rachel again by the mailboxes. As soon as Rachel saw us together, she stepped backward like she was about to fall. Her face drained of color, and she muttered something under her breath that we couldn't catch. Then she backed away. Fast. Almost tripped. My girlfriend stood there, stunned. What the hell was that? I don't know, I said. But I think she's scared of me. We debated for weeks, should we talk to her? Leave a note? Report it? It wasn't harassment. It wasn't violent. It was just this constant tension. Unspoken, unexplained. But it got worse. One morning I opened the front door to grab a delivery and found Rachel crouched by my doormat. She jolted upright like she'd been burned, dropped something, and ran back to her unit before I could say a word. I looked down. It was a photo. Not a recent one. It was a grainy, printed photo of a man who looked a lot like me, same hair, same build, but maybe a decade older. Eyes blurred from age or bad printing. On the back, written in pencil, "Do you remember what you did?" That was the last straw. I reported it. The building manager said she'd had a few complaints in the past. Strange behavior, erratic moods, paranoia, but nothing that crossed legal boundaries. They said they'd talk to her. Maybe issue a warning. A few days later, she was gone. Just like that. Moved out in the middle of the night. No moving truck. No help. Just vanished. Like she'd never been there at all. Weeks passed. Things went back to normal. But sometimes I still think about her. About that look on her face when she saw me. The terror. The certainty. I never found out what that photo meant. Who the man in it really was. But sometimes when I walk down that hallway, I still feel her eyes behind a door that's no longer there. I just turned 17. It was the closing shift at the Train Depot Cafe in Eddington, a tiny town buried in the Pennsylvania woods. Barely anyone ever passed through, especially after dark. Still, we stayed open until midnight for the rare stragglers off the late freight. I clocked out at 11:47. The place was dead. No customers. Just the hum of the overhead fluorescents and the smell of burnt coffee. I grabbed my coat, slid on my gloves, and headed out the back exit to the gravel employee lot. My old Plymouth was parked under the broken lamp near the tree line. I felt it before I saw her. That prickle. Like someone was staring. I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. Just shadows stretching across the snow. I picked up my pace. Halfway to my car, I saw headlights flash on. A dark sedan. Parked maybe 2 rows behind me. I hadn't noticed it before. The engine coughed to life, but the car didn't move. Weird. But maybe just a customer from the diner next door, I thought. Maybe someone sleeping it off. I unlocked the driver's door, slid in, and immediately locked the doors behind me. It was something my dad drilled into me the first time I drove alone at night. Always lock the doors first. Always. I turned the key. That's when the sedan pulled in behind me. Not beside me. Not past me. Directly behind. Cutting off any way out. I froze. My headlights caught the figure stepping out of the passenger side. A woman. Tall. Late 40s maybe. Wearing a long red cloak. The hood pulled up so I could only see the curve of her jaw and lips. She didn't stumble or hesitate. Just walked, slow and deliberate, right up to my window. She knocked twice. Confident. I didn't roll it down. She knocked again. A little harder. Then cupped her hands and leaned in, mouthing something. I stared at her. She smiled. Then raised her voice. I need directions. I blinked. Didn't respond. She gestured again. Please, she said louder. Just for a moment. I'm looking for Miller's Hollow Road. I'd lived in Eddington my whole life. Never heard of that road. I yelled through the glass. Don't know it. She tilted her head, then said, I can't hear you. Please, just open the window. I shook my head. Sorry. I yelled louder this time. Can't help you. She didn't move. Didn't walk away. Just stood there. Then she smiled wider and placed her hand on the door handle. I floored the horn. Just laid on it. She flinched, startled, then walked back to the sedan. It backed up and pulled out of the lot. No screeching tires. No rush. Just smooth and quiet. Like nothing had happened. That should have been the end. But 20 minutes later, I saw her again. I was halfway home, driving slow on the snowy back road through the woods. No other cars. Just me and the wind and the white blur of snowflakes. That's when I saw movement ahead. A figure. Standing at the bend in the road, right in the center. I slowed, squinting through the windshield. It was her. The same red cloak. Just standing there. No car in sight. No houses nearby. Just her. I didn't stop. Didn't even tap the brakes. I swerved around her, nearly fishtailed into the ditch, but I kept driving. Didn't look back. I didn't tell my parents when I got home. Didn't sleep much either. The next day, I called the sheriff's office to report it. They said no one else had come forward. They chalked it up to a stranded traveler. Maybe a little strange, but probably harmless, they said. But I kept thinking. Why approach a teenage girl alone at night? Why ask for directions to a road no one's ever heard of? Why block my car? Why try the door handle? Why show up again miles away with no car? Weeks passed. I tried to forget. Then another waitress at the depot went missing. Left after closing. Never made it home. No body. No clues. Just her abandoned car. Driver's side door wide open. People always think predators look a certain way. Rough. Aggressive. Well, but this woman? She was polite. Soft-spoken. Smiling. She didn't chase. Didn't threaten. She asked. Repeatedly. Calmly. With expectation. Like she already knew how the night would go. Like she'd done it before. And she wasn't in a rush. I still think about her when I drive home late at night. About how easy it is to mistake danger for something familiar. A woman in a cloak. A soft knock on the glass. A quiet voice saying, "Please just open the door."